Hawkers. Now, someone on the line, live from Santa Clara, should be Mikki St.Germain. Are you there, Mikki?
Yes, good morning, Terry and Lady Hawke.
Oh, great. Yes, it's nearly 3:20 in the morning here, and it's, early evening for you guys over there?
Yes, it's at 7 p.m. here for us and 10 on the East Coast.
Now, I know you've been to a special event today, but we're going to head on into our second feature, which, of course, is Packing for Happiness, Opus 2, Perspective, Real or an Illusion. Follow that, as you say. Mikki, where do we go from here?
Well, let's see, perspective, wow, that's a big one, isn't it? I mean, don't we all have a perspective on certain things?
We do.
You know, maybe sometimes the way we want things to be, or we may see something and look at it differently, or and even sometimes we see things that we want them to be certain ways and they're not. So, you know, perspective, you know, can go in many, many directions. And we had an abundance of questions and comments through our Facebook and, you know, some of the messages to me, and it was amazing. But the one that really I thought would help and kind of hit home was Ann in Texas. She was kind enough and brave enough to ask, and I embrace people that will actually take the time and want information. So she asked, Ann in Texas asked, so how do I change my perspective when the information is hurtful? And that's rough. And Ann, I commend you for asking that. And, you know, sometimes, you know, it's scary, you know. Sometimes we have information, or we think we have the right information, and we have our perspective, and we want to go forward with it, but it's hurtful. And sometimes taking that dark and scary ride back into the past is challenging enough, but then wondering if we're going to get the information that we want, or more information maybe we weren't prepared for, and then what do we do with that? And I wanted to share a story of mine, and hopefully, and this will, you know, help you and maybe others with something similar. Okay. When I was very small, actually I was a baby just before I began to walk, my leg had gotten broken. And I was told by my mother that my biological father was this horrible person, and he broke it out of rage and anger because I was crying. And up until about a year ago, I believed all this. And then during my growth and change and trying to get my life in a perspective that I wanted to live so I can constantly, you know, be happy with my choices and what I do, is I went and I actually went to go visit my real dad. And it was definitely an experience. And it was scary because it was information that I didn't know what I was in for when I went out on that journey to talk to him and discover what everything was about. So we got to know each other, and we had seen each other a long time ago. Actually, when I was 18, I found him because my mother had told me that he was dead. I didn't even know he was even still alive, and I just, for something in me, just said, you know what, I need to find out the truth. And through family, I discovered that it was misinformation, and I did discover him. So within time had passed, and we kind of went on, and but I had all these questions and this perspective of my life that I really wanted these answers. So anyway, I went and I traveled to see him, and we talked, and we had an opportunity to share a lot of stories, and I confronted him. Confronted him with a lot of things that I wanted to know answers for. And the more I got to know him, it was like he was just this guy, just this down-to-earth guy that was, you know, had other children since he had, you know, left. My mom had gotten divorced, and they loved him. And the reality was there was a fight. They were angry. And between him and my mother, they were going at it, and she had threatened to leave and take me away from him. And I guess in the midst of them fighting over me, my leg got caught in the crib, and it broke. So it wasn't like it was a vicious act. It was basically a struggle, and I just happened to be a victim of circumstance. Well, you know, it's funny, yes, that that story does make me angry, but on the other hand, it's information that I needed to learn, and I needed to make choices to see what I wanted to do with it, and determine, what was real, what was an illusion, and what was real, what was on that perspective. And it was amazing because I have other siblings, and I saw them around him and how happy they were and what kind of a nice person he was. And I was really more angry that I had been lied to for so long. And, it took a lot for him and I to come together and share these experiences and stories and come out with the truth and discover what was real and what wasn't. And then, again, it's still my ultimate choice to what I want to do with it. And it was the scariest, but it was probably the best thing I've ever done. So if I could tell you anything, Anne, go out and discover your own truth. Yes, some things are going to be hurtful. Some things maybe we don't want to face. But the reality is that if you want to be happy in your life, you gotta go out and pick and choose what you want and what also you want to, what is real and what maybe you've had a perspective on in the past. And what's real information compared to what maybe you thought was information. Or if it is real, you still have the choice of what do you want to do with it. And I think that comes down to anybody that's got certain things in their life that they've held a perspective that's hurtful or damaging. And I would always say, get the real information. And if you have the real information, you still have to decide what you want to do with it, to go forward in your life to make you happy.
But what a relief that must have been to have to have learned that what you'd understood was the truth or the explanation, and suddenly to find that it was totally different. The end result was the same, but how it's turned out and how reflective that was, and now you had a completely different perspective. It was your biological father then. That must have been quite an emotional meeting for the start before that was come out.
It was, and I think the hardest part was, again, you grow up with this information, and you believe it. You believe it all your life because, again, you're taking it from somebody that should, you should believe, a parent, or especially my mother, and to come to find out that it was a twisted truth was hard. But then again, it was also bittersweet because I got to discover that all this time I was thinking something that wasn't, I didn't have all the information. So I had that opportunity to change my perspective on someone in my life, and that, especially being my real father. So, that was a really close one. That definitely hit some heartstrings. But again, it was scary. But then again, I'm so glad I did it. Even if the outcome had been something different, maybe it was, it could have been worse than what it was. I was still prepared, and I felt like I was in control to be able to go out and discover that information so I could take my perspective, so I could be happy in my life with whatever information was thrown at me.
Oh, that was a wonderful end to the day. That would have been for you, wouldn't it? It was excellent.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I haven't got a particular experience like that. I've been thinking over the last week. What about you, Lady Hawke? Have you got any similar sort of thing that you want to let us know?
Nothing like that. No, not really.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing too is, and that's pretty. I was answering a question for Anne because that was a tough one, and I think a lot of people struggle with some things of their past that maybe they have a perspective on. But on the other hand, it's not just our perspective that we have, that we hold internally. We have to deal with other perspectives of other people, that we deal with on a regular basis, and we have to guess and choose what we want to do with it. We could be growing up and have been somewhere or thought of something that we, knew deep down inside that it was nothing different. And then you go back and you discover something and you go, oh my gosh, that's my whole perspective was so different than what I had initially thought.
Well, I know that little cartoon you put in your book to explain about the perspective, etc. That was a guy on an island and a guy on a boat.
Yes.
And the guy on the island says, "Oh, I'm saved," and the guy on the boat says, land, or something like that. That's, just two different perspectives, Fabulous. Anyway.
Yeah, and with the information that you have, I mean, really, that's all the perspective is.
Yeah.
Perspective is you're dealing with the information you have to create that reality. And then when you're dealing with other people, and for example, and if you don't have enough information, you can have a perspective. And for example, there was a wife texts her husband on a very cold morning, and the husband looks over and it says, "Window's frozen, won't open." And the husband thinks about it for a second, and he takes his moment and he texts her back, and he says, "Well, gently pour some lukewarm water over it, and to break the seal on the window." And comes back a few minutes later, his phone rings, and he picks it up, and he sees the text, and his wife writes back, "Computer really screwed up now." So, in his mind, his perspective, he's like, "Oh, the window's frozen because it's cold and it's winter, and she can't open up the window." And she was talking about her computer.
Oh, dear.
So sometimes our perspectives are, because we don't have enough information, and we have to deal with other people. We don't know what's going on in their head based on what they're thinking. Or what what.
That's funny. So funny. So I interrupted you, Lady Hawke. You had something? Do you want to have something similar you wanted to say? Then I interrupted you.
Not sorry. I can't tell it. Not after that story. It's
anticlimax. Well, I mean, all I can do is encourage people to have a look at your book, Packing for Happiness, and there's a lot of superb advice and ideas and encouragement within there. And anything else you want to finish on? You want to, what's going to be next month, I wonder?
Oh, I'm excited. The next one that we have, and that's our June 7th, isn't it? June 7th?
Yes, it will be. Yes, indeed. Yes,
June 7th, we are going to do Success or Successful. And that is, there's a big difference. Is your life full of success, or are we just, or is it in a different direction? And I think that's going to be insightful for some of us, because we can be successful in our lives, but are we really full of success?
Yes. But on the other hand, don't be that ardent that you got to go for success. Success comes in different levels, doesn't it, Mikki? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
You don't have to go for the top range all the time. Go for the lower ones. But oh dear.
Life has got so much to offer, so much, and that the bottom line is just be happy, find your happiness. I mean, we deal with things so many times and different directions, and constantly going, and whether it's personal or with our work, or just surrounding ourselves, just be happy. Happiness comes from within, and there's ways to do it. You just got to stop, take a breath, and find it.
Well, on that thought-provoking minute, thank you, Mikki, and it's been fabulous again, and it's good to get this interaction, both on Twitter and on Facebook, and difficult to follow that, isn't it, Lady Hawke, really?
Might be difficult, but still.
All I can say is thank you once again, Mikki, and I'll have a quick word with you off air, as we say, but it's difficult. I mean, I've looked at the book, and I've not read the book from cover to cover, but chapter by chapter, I'm slowly working my way through it. But thank you very much, Mikki. Oh, this is fabulous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikki.
Well, thank you for letting me share. Thank you. You guys, I love your music. I love you guys. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I think the track I'm going to play now is, I think it's Forever in Time. How about that one? Here we go. Thank you, Mikki St.Germain.
Thank you, Mikki.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.